My daughter was in literally her last stages of her life.
My goal was just to be normal.
I thought I was stronger. So I said, God, why'd you give it to her? Just give it to me so I'll bear it instead.
I'm reliving it, so give me a second. Whew. So I had a really bad upset stomach.
Sam and I are only 22 months apart, and so we are, I don't know what they're called, but fake twins. So we were very close. We did everything together. My mom would dress us up alike.
I'm Kukuwa, the founder and creator of Kukuwa Fitness, Kukuwa African Dance. But first and foremost, the mother of two gorgeous daughters, Cassandra and Samantha Nuama. They had me and their father, and we were raising them in I call it a lovely, beautiful family. They had all the privileges of going to good schools and also being a part of a lot of activities. I'm talking competitive swimming, competitive basketball, soccer, gymnastics, ballet. Raising our children, you have to go to the doctor on a regular basis for checkup. And Samantha had a sort of a butterfly shape on her nose. And it's actually on the skin. So they did more tests, and each test came up with an autoimmune deficiency. And they labeled it lupus, and that's how we found out that Samantha had lupus at the age of 11.
He tried to explain how it's an autoimmune disease, my immune system is attacking itself, and I'm getting the rash because of the attack, I'm having the upset stomach because of the attack, yet my mom and I still were like, what? This doesn't make sense. I've had upset stomachs before.
And she started feeling a little sick, didn't feel good. She would get up, Mom, not feeling well. You know, in the beginning, I did not know how to deal with it, so I thought maybe she has a cold, you know. What can ginger take away? What can my remedies do? But it was more than that. It just kept, Ma, I have a headache. Ma, I'm feeling joint pains. And I'm like, what is this? So kept going back to the hospital to check on it, and more tests were done. And each time they do these tests, they come up with autoimmune. So I said, wow, I'm going to have to deal with this autoimmune, which is very new to me.
So me being the child that I am, I went and researched. I had a Toastmasters coming up in class, and I went and researched what lupus was. And lupus in Latin means wolf. So the disease typically starts with a rash around the top half of your face that resembles a wolf. And that's how he automatically knew when we walked in the pediatrician that I had lupus. After running tests, it confirmed that I had lupus. And we started a steady course of medication. So from that point on, my life was totally different. I was no longer able to play contact sports. I was having multiple doctor's appointments weekly, lots of tests. Everybody wanted to know about my condition, so every hospital we went to was a teaching hospital. Everyone was asking questions. So it was a lot to take on as an 11-year-old. And all I wanted to do was play and be with my friends.
12 going on 13, or already 13, I can't really remember, but it was around middle school time. when I found out. And I didn't really know much about it. I just knew that it sucked.
After being diagnosed, after changing, after trying to adapt, there was a series of ups and downs. It's a roller coaster of a disease. So one minute you think everything's good, you're in what's called a remission state, where you're just going through life and it's great. Then you get a flare-up. A flare-up can look multiple ways. It could be something small where it's just like joint inflammation, pain, fatigue, where you have to sleep for a long time or multiple days at a time, or it could be really big. Because I had just had onset, I was having multiple flares back to back, one after the other. And just to explain that a little bit is, with lupus, your immune system is overactive. So this is how they explained it to me as a pediatrician. And when the pediatrician was going over it, it was the best explanation I've ever had. So in everybody's body, when you get a cold, your cells try to fight off that cold. But in someone who has an overactive immune system, your cells are fighting all the time, even when they have nothing to fight. When there's no cold, when nothing's going on, it's fighting, so it's fighting itself. So essentially, it fights so much that there's nothing left. So then when you get something like a cold or an infection, it takes over your body because there's nothing to fight. So that's how it can turn into attacking different parts of the body, because it's attacking nothing and trying to find something to attack. So what was happening to me is I was having multiple flares because my body was attacking itself. It had killed off all the cells that needed to fight and it was looking for places to fight. So I would have a flare up in my small intestine where there would be fluid all around my small intestine, and they'd have to do a surgery to drain the fluid. I would have a flare in my arms or my fingers, and they would be so inflamed they'd have to drain from there. I had a flare around my pancreas and had severe pancreatitis and had to be in the hospital for a month. Just different flares back to back. So I would have like a week or two where I was good and I'd be in school and I'd be with my friends, and then I'd be in the hospital because of a flare. It wasn't where you could just stay home and sleep it off. You had to go in, you had to see what was going on with you. You had to make sure your medications were regulated, because they were increasing doses and decreasing doses and making sure that your body was getting what it needed. It's tricky because if they don't suppress your immune system fights. But when you need it to fight, they need to let it do what it does. So it's a very hard balance, and the doctors were always trying to wean you off or put you on or all kinds of different things. And then the medications themselves were really harsh on the body. So when you're young, you just want to fit in and be normal. And sometimes you're on prednisone and you get really big, or sometimes you're just really sick from whatever kind of chemo med or whatever, and then you get really small. So it's really hard to maintain weight or balance what you look like. I had where it attacked my skin, and I had eczema from my neck down to the point where I was blistering, and then I had to wear turtlenecks all the time. So different flare-ups back to back to back. My goal was just to be normal. I started that steady course of medication, which I wasn't on daily meds before. So learning to take pills daily, again, not playing sports. I was very active. So I was in track, basketball, soccer, swimming, gymnastics, and all of the contact sports had to stop or be minimized. So that was a huge change for me. My sister and I were in all the activities together. So watching her do them and me not being able to do them was a bit of a shock and a lot of sadness. But I was taking it all in. I wanted to know more about what I was going through. I wanted to know more about what this looks like and how I could live with it. A lot is happening to your body all at once. So having joint pain and inflammation was a lot. At times I would be, mind you, I'm around 6th grade at this time. So I'm in class with the other kids, and I'll be taking a test and writing, and my joints would lock up and I would just freeze. And I couldn't move my hand. I couldn't continue with the test. I would have to stop and tell my teachers, like, I'm in pain. People didn't understand because I looked like a healthy sixth grader. And I think that's one of the hardest things with lupus is it's called like the invisible disease or the hidden disease because people can't see it on you. When they look at you, you look like everybody else. And then you could be in so much pain internally. You can have so much going on, but nobody can see that.
But this was her life from 11 all the way until she was 18, up and down, up and down.
I went home for the weekend because my parents said they had a surprise for me. And I hadn't had a flare-up in a while. I was doing okay, and I felt fine. And I went home, and I was so excited because my parents bought me a car. And I was gonna take it back to college and everything. And then that evening when I went to sleep, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was in so much pain. This was a flare-up I never saw coming. I didn't prepare for. I didn't know what to expect. So I was in so much pain from the bottom half of my body down. And I didn't know what was happening, but it felt like my legs were on fire.
My legs are burning, Mom, my legs are burning. And I'm like, what do you mean your legs are burning? You look okay. My legs are burning, Ma. They feel like knives or needles going through my leg. And she's coming down the stairway and she stops. She can't continue. She's now sitting on the stairwell just crying. So I'm like confused but concerned. So is her father, so is her sister. And right away, she's screaming so much. I go, I've got to call 911. So we call 911, the ambulance comes to the house. They put her in the ambulance and she's screaming. And of course, I'm being a mother, I want to be in the ambulance with her. And then her sister rides with her father following us. We go to the hospital, the first hospital.
When we get to the hospital, as soon as we get there, my legs are on fire the whole way to the hospital. I'm just screaming in pain, in pain, in pain. We get there and the pain stops. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I wasted everyone's time. I feel better. And they're like, okay, let's just run some tests and we'll see. So they start running tests and they're poking and prodding. And I'm like, no, I feel fine, I feel fine. But little did I know that was a major flare-up that affected my nerves and caused nerve damage in the bottom half of my body. So at that point, I was paralyzed from the waist down.
Samantha just said, oh, I feel fine. It's gone. Well, little did she know that it was not gone. She had become crippled. She couldn't feel from her waist down.
They did a shock test on my feet and my legs, and I felt nothing. They asked me to muscle move and lift my legs, couldn't do it. So I was in total shock, didn't know how to feel, didn't know what to do. All the doctors were rushing in. They did a spinal tap, they did a couple other tests, and everything was happening around me, but all I could think was like, oh my gosh, I can't walk. And then,
They had hooked up to a machine and they said, the pain is still going through. So if she's saying she's fine, then she can't feel her legs. The doctors pull us into a room and tell us that it's getting worse. It's not that it's getting any better. So they have to keep her. We thought we'd go to the hospital and come back home. That was not it. We stayed in the hospital literally for a month. That was only the first hospital. After they had gone through so many tests and everything, they moved us to another hospital because they figured that the first hospital, maybe they run out of everything they could do, take her to the next better, something they could do better. Went to the next hospital. They did all the tests. I am not kidding you, about maybe 89 different tests. And the second hospital couldn't help us either. The third hospital, they couldn't help us. More tests. By about the time it was the fourth hospital, they had to fly her, they had to helicopter her from the third hospital to the fourth hospital. It was that bad. It was getting so bad. Samantha was losing weight very quickly.
They hooked me up to a respirator. They hooked me up to a feeding tube. I had stopped eating at that point. My body just started to shut down. And again, I don't know if my mental state and my shock played a role, but I was going in a decline. So yes, I was on a steady decline, and the doctors started telling my mom that they didn't think that I was gonna make it.
Time they said, we do not have good news for you. Your daughter has only 2 weeks to live. So we would advise you that you start making funeral arrangements.
Naturally, it was a really hard thing to hear. You're already in a state where you're trying to fight, but then when someone tells you there's nothing they can do, your body and your mind almost shuts down. My support system has just been incredible, from my mom to my sister, everybody, my dad, everybody pitched in.
So my children have a very tight relationship. They're very close.
My sister was a huge support, always motivating and encouraging me, always making me laugh if she saw that I was down.
Every hospital visit, everything, she'd just be like, it's okay. Now I know how to take my own blood. Now I know how to do this, and this nurse is really nice, and this nurse sucks. And she would, we would just make jokes out of it, and just know that it was gonna be okay, that this, we always looked at it as temporary. Sometimes I said, Lord, why didn't you give it to me instead?
So the night after they told me that I had 2 weeks to live, my mom overheard. My mom was actually headed to get ice from the ice machine because I wanted some ice. And she overheard the doctors talking, and they were talking about my case, and they were just saying, like, there's really nothing we can do. We've tried everything. Let's just try some tests. Let's just try some meds that, like, who knows what'll happen, but let's just try it, because she's already gonna die.
I said, oh no, you don't experiment on my child.
So I thank God for my mom, because she is so strong, and she really, really, really helped me pull through this situation.
This time, all this time, I mentioned my faith. I've been praying. I'm a prayer warrior. My mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother taught me. My father all taught me, you pray. You pray and pray and pray until you see results. And then I had a vision. And the vision was about trees that had fruits and vegetables on them. And the fruits and vegetables became almost like a liquid where she can ingest the fruits and vegetables as a liquid. Now, by this time, I'm not even thinking juicing and all of that, because that's even not where my mind is going. I'm thinking really what the doctors can do for my daughter. With my faith, with my prayers, I said, I'm gonna go and just take her home. I'm gonna go and juice for her, because that is the vision I had. And I'm going to try actually traditional medicine, naturopathic. So she had to sign herself out of there because she was over 18. She could not sign. Her hands were also crippled. I'm not even talking just because from waist down, she couldn't feel it. The hands were also like this. So when they came around, I said, she can sign. And the doctor said, she cannot sign, she's crippled. I said, trust me, she can sign. We put a pen in her hand and she did a line. I said, she signed. I need to get my daughter home tonight.
It was just a hard time because we were going against what the doctors said. They said to pump these steroids, pump this medication, do all of these things. And my mom was like, no, we need to go to the grocery store, get the vegetables, do this juicing, do that. And then she had a very strict method on how it was going to be done.
So we brought Samantha home and we put her in the basement level of the house and actually blew up, we had a blow-up bed just so that she could be like in the middle of the place, and if she needed to use the bathroom, and we know she wasn't going anywhere, but if people wanted to come in, they would just have access from ground level. We kept her there and I started juicing. I got 3 major appliances. First appliance, a juicer. Second appliance, a blender, a very powerful juicer and a very powerful blender. Third appliance, a water purifier. These are the 3 things I used to heal my daughter. Why? Because the juicer would extract the pulp out of the vegetables that I am juicing so that she could ingest just the liquid straight into her bloodstream so that it can build her cells, start building her cells. And I would also use the blender just so that she could have the entire vegetable and fruit that I'm blending also to give her nourishment. And last but not the least, she needed pure water. I could not just count on any kind of water. It had to be literally alkaline water. So I started juicing for her about 8 glasses a day of juices, pure juices that I made for her with the juicer I bought, but they were vegetable based. Now, Samantha didn't like them. She didn't like the taste. So she would hold her nose and take it.
And although Sam hated it, we saw results. And it was really magical. It was really magical. And so it transformed me.
I did the juicing for 2 solid weeks before I added the smoothies to it. Still the 4 weeks, she was not eating a morsel of food. It was still the juicing and the smoothies and the purified water. That was it for the whole month. But just that built her cells quickly, much more faster. So it brought her back. Maybe if she was eating, it would not have done the same, it wouldn't have given us the same results that fast.
The sensation started to continue to come. Slowly got feeling in my right. It started to move up to my, through my legs. And I felt it all the way up into the knee area. However, it wasn't as fast on my left side, and it hit a little differently. It actually was going from my thigh down, the sensation of feeling. So it felt a little unequally balanced, but so initially when I got home, I was on a bedpan and the air mattress. And then I graduated from the bedpan to a walker. One of our family members let us borrow a walker. So I was able to crawl and start the walker. And then I finally got up to crutches, which was a big deal. All the while I was still doing, I went back and started doing some physical therapy in there. And it was helping recirculate and re-energize. So we were doing physical therapy twice a week, as well as home therapy and just regenerating those nerves, getting them reacclimated. And it was like learning how to walk all over again from scratch. It was very challenging, but beautiful at the same time, because it was what I was looking forward to the whole time. It was what I was praying for and wanting. And even though it was painful sometimes and it was hard to learn again, because I wanted it so bad, I was so happy. I was elated when I was able to take my first step with the crutches. Once we were home and that 15th day passed, the 15th day that I was supposed to not be here, it was an overwhelming sense of joy, one. We had done it, we had accomplished, and I say we because, again, my support system was with me the whole time. And it was a great feeling, and it just made me want to keep pushing, made me want to keep going. And I knew that, again, what's next? What's next? How can we make me get stronger? How can we make me improve? When am I going back to school? That was the next thing I was looking for. So right after we hit that, there was no big celebration. It was just kind of an internal joy that my whole support system felt together. Everyone kind of checked in and was like, how are we feeling? How are we doing? And we pushed forward.
For me, I can say the same for her sister and her dad and my family and friends that came in to help me. They would bring in the products for us to use. Everybody was happy. You know, we were happy. And when I say happy, it was not a full joy because there was still some healing yet to be done. But the fact that we could see progress made us happy. We knew we were heading for the better. She could not walk. She had the bedpan in the beginning, but then by about the 4th month, she could actually, with assistance, go to the bathroom. You know, as long as we held her, she could go to the bathroom herself.
So another big piece to me that I think was really beneficial to me was that being mentally positive was great, but I also tried not to get physically out of touch. So because my mom had a wonderful program that she put together, I took advantage of it. I know I couldn't fully move. I couldn't move the bottom half, but I did the top half. We would put on, at that time, it was the VHS videos, and we put them in, and I would still do from the top up the Kukuwa dance moves, the Kukuwa Fitness moves. And I would jam out to them, and it would make me feel alive in the moment. It would give me my energy and my spirit, and it really helped a lot.
With that, doing the Kukuwa African dance, it's healing in itself because the movements involve your arms, your head, your whole entire body, your legs, you know, everything. And you're breathing it through in and out and feeling the vibrations of the music from Africa. So she wanted that workout. She didn't ask for any other workout. She wanted the Kukuwa African dance that healed her soul, that gave her that feeling of, wow, I'm energized, the energy that comes out of this type of dancing. And I believe all of that helped her in healing.
KUWA Fitness brings joy, and that's really what pulled Sam through her hard journey. That's what made her still have happiness despite the craziness she was going through.
So from the time we left the hospital to the time I was able to re-enter school took about 1 full year. So I put me a year and a half behind in school of when I would have naturally graduated. But I was so grateful and so thankful that I was back at school and could at least enjoy. I kind of didn't mind. I just was happy to be there and happy to still be able to do the things. I also took precautions and still wore my boot and took my cane. So even like when we went out, if we went to a party or something, I would take the cane and the boot and I would just be on the safe side. But I still wanted to enjoy and live my life to the fullest, so I did. It wasn't what I thought was gonna happen. They looked at me and they were like, oh, we're so happy to see you walking. Oh, you got lucky. And I was expecting them to ask about how the naturopathic healing went, like be a little bit in awe of like, wow, this was successful. And they just kind of were like, no, you got lucky. So it wasn't at all what I was expecting. It just was kind of a lackluster response that they were like, okay, you beat it, got lucky.
Whenever I feel like something's not possible, I think about Sam. Whenever I think about how hard something is, I think about Sam. Whenever I think about about giving up, I think about Sam. Like her testimony is everything to me about, just how, she deals with things that most people literally couldn't deal with for an hour. And so her strength motivates me to be that much stronger. When the doctors gave that crazy, death sentence, I was like, wow. I mean, and for Sam to be so strong and push through, like she hated the taste of the juices, but her love for life and what she was feeling was so much stronger than that. And her strength just really strengthened all of us. Her strength to push through the needles that she felt when her legs were going numb. Her strength to push through when she can't get up and her joints are locked, or her kidneys have failed, or the gout in her legs, or the chemotherapy that they had her on. I mean, any sickness that you could think of, Sam has dealt with it. From chemo to gout to kidneys to transplants to paralyzation. I mean, everything you could think of, Sam was like, check, check, check. I've done. So there's nothing that she can go through that she's not capable of, because of the faith that she has in God, and because of her resilience and strength. It really motivates and inspires me so much. I always say that she's one of the strongest people I know.
As an adult, if I had to relive it and say something to the doctors now, I would probably say to them that it's good to listen to the patient. It's good to hear them out. It's good to let them give opinions and options as well, and explore those opinions and options, and not just stay one-tracked. And to don't give up on your patient so early, because there may be more.
I think people don't really know that lupus is all across the map. I think that they might think it's skin related. They might think it's just inflammation related. They might think it's, one or the other. But lupus is literally all over the map and can relate to people who have sickle cell, can relate to people who have cancer, can relate to all these other autoimmune diseases, because they're fighting with the same type of, overactive immune system. And so lupus, they haven't found an official cure for it, but what my mom did for my sister holistically can definitely help to make it benign in so many ways.
So as I said, I am not a doctor, but parents, if your child is not well, or even yourself, and you want to go the naturopathic way, which is going naturally, trying natural herbs, trying natural ways, the naturopathic way. I encourage you to try it. Okay, I also encourage you to work out. You've got to add that workout in there. Okay, it comes together, it's a balance. Eating right and working out. And you can find my books on kukuwafitness.com. And I have one particular book, African Health Secrets, KUWA VIZURI. It will teach you step by step how to help yourself the naturopathic way. But once again, I am telling you, I am not a doctor, but I chose the natural way. And I'm glad I did, because today my daughter is well. So if you would like to try it, please give it a try.
As a lupus warrior, you are amazingly strong. You battle with stuff every day that people can't handle. And you do it without people even knowing that you're going through it. So keep pushing yourself, keep doing it, keep living beautifully as a lupus warrior. We fight this thing every single day and we win. So keep going.